Alright, this is how you change the rear brake pads on a vehicle with an electric handbrake. First, pop the bonnet, then take the brake reservoir cap off. Take the handbrake off, jack the car up, and make sure the wheel spins freely. From there, what you're going to want to do is, I like to give it a little scrape down, get all the dust and grime off, but you're going to want to remove the 2 bolts holding the brake caliper on. From there, remove the 2 old brake pads. As you can see, these brake pads are worn down quite a bit. As you can see, there is an inner and outer brake pad. Do not mess this up because you have to put them back in the correct order. The inner pad is the one with the lug in the middle, and the outer pad is the one with the 2 lugs on the outside. As you can see, the little notch sits into the brake caliper because when the brake caliper winds out, that's how it applies the handbrake and wears it and makes sure it's sticking correctly. From there, there'll be 2 bolts holding on the motor on the back of the brake caliper. You just need a Torx bit to remove these 2 bolts. It's always a good idea to crack these bolts by hand because they can get rounded off very easy. When you've done that, you can use the impact driver to remove them very quickly. Just make sure that the bit is in the head of the bolt so you do not strip it. Once you've done that, remove the motor and place it to the side. As you can see now, we have access to the point in which you're going to wind it in clockwise with a Torx bit that fits nicely. Now we're going to do this nice and slow because we do not want to smash the gear system in the back of the brake caliper. Once you've wound it all the way in, wind it back half a turn. This will help you align the motor back onto the brake caliper so you're not fiddling around with it too much. As you can see here, I'm winding back and forth until the bolts line up, and then once you've done that, you will put the bolts back in, and then you can tighten them down with the impact driver. From there, you can now press this piston back into the brake caliper without having any issues. Use a brake pad to help push it all the way in to make sure you can fit the new pads. When you've done that, it's time to give everything a good clean. Do not skip this part. Do not try and be lazy with this. Give everything a good clean because the new brake dust needs somewhere to go. So clean the caliper, clean the brake caliper mounting bracket. Make sure to get in there and really get all that old debris off there so then your brake pads can move freely when they are fitted. Once you've done this, you're going to need to remove those 2 guide pins. As you can see, I've just done this now. Clean them and then reapply some more grease. Make sure it's the right type of grease here. You can see I'm using the Bendix brand, which is essentially the best one that you can get on market, but any ceramic grease or any silicone grease will do well. Try to avoid any brake clean. When you've done that, you're going to want to clean and spray it down with some brake clean to get all the last little bits off and really get into the grooves where the brake pads sit, because when you do this, then the brake pads will move freely and your pads will last a lot longer. Finally, spray down the brake caliper, and once you've done this, everything should be ready to go and we'll get the new pads ready for installation. As you can see, this is the back pad. You put a little bit of grease on the end. This is a thing people argue over with all the time. I've done over a few hundred vehicles brakes and I've never had any issues putting a little bit of extra grease on there to make sure they move freely. So we've got the back pad in, the front pad in. Now take a little bit of grease and put it on your finger and put it on the ears of the brake caliper and then the back of the point in which the brake piston is aligned correctly with the pad. Chuck those 2 bolts back in, tighten them down, make sure it all moves freely afterwards because there shouldn't be any pressure on anything. Wipe it all down. As you can see here, we like to make sure everything is nice and clean. These rotors are fine condition. Chuck the wheel back on. Once the wheel's on, the procedure you're going to want to do is critical because you don't want to stuff this up, which I see a lot of people do. Number 1, pump the brake pedal a few times to make sure that the piston is pushed out before pulling up the brake button in the vehicle. Now you can pull it up. Once you hear it, you'll hear them wind out for a little bit longer than they normally do. This is normal. Do not freak out. You do not need to plug in a scan tool to clear any codes or anything like this. Chuck the brake reservoir cap on and then you should be good to go. Shut that bonnet and then take it for a spin and make sure everything moves freely. Please, if you like this video, share and subscribe. I'm trying to get the subscribers up. Thank you so much